This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Philippi. My guest is Maggie Bowman, and Maggie is a very talented jewelry designer who's been on the show before, but the added twist is this is her first year as an Art Harvest Studio Tour artist. So welcome back.
Thank you. This is fun.
I'm so excited that you're going to be on the tour this year.
Me too. I've taken students as a teacher. I used to take students to the studios, and artists would show us the kids what they're doing, and now I get to be one of those artists. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So what was the whole process like for you of being juried in, and talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, it was kind of nerve-wracking and fun. I got to pick some of my favorite photographs of things that I've done, and I submitted them and then sat back and waited. And I got a nice call from James Nelson, and he said I was in, so it was really exciting.
Oh, good. Okay. So I know that you have been on the show before, and you did bring some images to show. But before we get into that, why don't you talk a little bit about your background as, you know, an artist and sort of longtime resident of the area?
I've been in this area for over 30 years. I was a teacher out in the Yamhill School District. And I retired a couple years ago after teaching a long time. But about 9 years ago, I started taking silversmithing classes, and I just loved it. And it started out as just something fun where I could repair jewelry, and then I learned how to make my own jewelry. And the funny part was when I first started learning how to solder jewelry, I remembered that in the 9th grade, when I was in FFA, I was taught how to weld.
Okay.
And I went, oh my gosh, I've done this before. This is fun.
With the big hood.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is a little bit different, but it's the same idea. And working with metals and working with rocks and stones, I really enjoyed that.
So from there, it just sort of morphed into a whole career for you.
It did. It's a hobby that's picking up. Fortunately, it's fun, and it's something that I really enjoy doing now that I have time, now that I'm retired.
And you were talking about when you first got into it and that you had some inspiration from a fellow artist?
I had a wonderful local silversmith say to me, why don't you start your own studio? And I said, well, I like using so-and-so studio. She's got all the great tools. And he said, well, here's what you do. You start buying tools, and you throw them under your bed. And when you can't fit any more tools under your bed, you've got enough for a studio. So I actually did that.
Okay.
And now I have my own studio.
Go ahead.
It's actually in my garage, which most artists kind of start there, like all good garage bands, you know. But I call it MB Sterling Designs for Maggie Bowman, and most of my work is in sterling.
And stones and precious stones.
Lots of rocks.
Now, where do you find the rocks?
I go to a lot of rock shows. I have friends who cut stones. I go to lapidary shows. There's a wonderful, every April in Polk County, down near Rick Riol, there's a great rock and lapidary show.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen that.
So pretty much anywhere, garage sales, estate sales.
So you gather the material and then inspiration strikes.
I usually know what I want to make out of something as I'm holding it. I get an idea, and it's usually pretty close.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the images that you brought. And you can talk us through them a little bit. I know there's only just a few, so we'll see. There we go.
These two pendants went to a good friend down in Grants Pass. She's a retired teacher, but I needed a good travel buddy, and she had retired, and we just went on this week-long trip through New Mexico, and she picked out both of those stones. The one on the left is called Boulder Turquoise, and they used to throw that away because it wasn't good enough.
Oh, right.
And now it's become really popular because it has the host stone in it. And the one on the right is called Boulder Rhodochrosite. So she picked out both of those stones. We went to a bead place, a jewelry supply place down in New Mexico, and picked out all the stones and the beads, and she looked at me and said, have fun. And I did, and she loves them and wears them a lot. And it's really fun when people say to me, use your artistic license. And I do quite a bit of custom work. I've got lots of rocks.
Okay, sure. So a client can come to your studio
right.
and just go through it with you, talk a little bit about what they want, and you'll create something for them.
Right, I'm going to have all my rocks out during the Art Harvest
Oh,
studio,
great.
and a sketch pad, and if somebody falls in love with
I
a
love
stone.
it. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, here's another one.
The next one that was the Tree of Life. It was an amethyst crystal, and it just looked like roots to me, and
that's really
the
pretty.
tree was fun. It's a technique called piercing, so you draw your design and you have to drill a little hole and slide the saw blade through and reattach it and saw
Okay.
the negative space out. So that was a fun one. These were a custom request by a gal who really loves copper, and I have got silver, brass, and copper. I even have been playing with some aluminum, but she told me kind of the size and the shape, and once again said, have fun, this is what I want, and she really liked them. They ended up looking kind of like leaves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, those are really pretty.
And one of my favorite things to do are dragonflies. One of the symbols, they symbolize transition, that metamorphosis of, as humans, we are constantly going through change, and the dragonfly really symbolizes that. So I sketched out a cute one. I looked at a real dragonfly, and I got the image, and just before I was going to solder it, I thought, I should maybe make some copies. So I ran to the store, made a few Xerox copies of it, and so I can keep that image that I designed. And those became pendants.
Oh, you know what? I thought they were something for your hair.
They could be.
Yeah.
You could make combs out of them, or pins, or
It's really pretty.
earrings.
Okay.
Big earrings.
Yeah.
This is a sheet of metal that I created about a month ago. There was a great workshop in Newburgh through Newburgh Jewelry Studios, was where I took my original silversmithing classes through PCC. Cindy Proctor is the owner there, and we found a guy on the West Coast, Eric Burrist, he's in the back there, on the East Coast from Washington, D.C., and this is a Japanese technique called mokamagane.
Okay.
Hard to say, but it's fun to make. And that is 16 layers of silver and copper. It's heated, it's pressurized, it's rolled out, it's pounded. You're working the metal hot. You get this sheet of really cool metal, and then you drill holes in it and roll it some more. And you just abuse this poor metal all day long. And at the end of the day, you get a 3x4 chunk that you can then make earrings out of. And this was just one technique. The side on the right has a patina on it, which was an acid wash that made the copper turn kind of a mauve, purpley brown color. And the stuff on the left, I left plain.
Interesting. Wow. That's a lot of work. Do you do that in your studio?
I have not done that in my own studio, but I know that I can go to Newburgh Studio, and he left all the things that we needed to do that with there at the studio.
Okay.
I love sterling silver hoops. I could wear them all day, every day, and my goal is to see if I can make 100 different kinds.
Oh, nice.
And so these actually swivel. It's kind of
Those are pretty.
a fishing lure style that swivels, and so the wire from the pearl goes up through the hoop, and it can spin around any way you need it to. But
I really like that.
I collect a lot of pearls. They look really pretty with the silver.
They sure do. So you'll have a lot of finished jewelry.
I will. My
for the
goal is
show.
to have 50 to 80 pieces finished. I need to go home now and make jewelry. No.
Right. Of course.
But I'm worked until 10:30 last night. I'm trying to make quite a few of my favorite designs.
Okay.
So
Yeah, of course. And then when people come, you'll have designs for sale.
Correct.
You'll also have the loose stones and rocks if people want to play around a little bit and become a master designer in their own right.
yes, and I love it when people give their input and tell me how big, what size, embellishments. And It makes it really personal. Every once in a while, actually, several times, I've invited somebody to come do the pounding. So this is the piece you want to make. Come work alongside me. I don't.
Oh, how fun.
I do the soldering and the power tools, but they can do the sawing and the polishing and the buffing and the pounding. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
You know, just pounding on the silver and choosing the tools, making designs on it if they want, and really customizing it. And they can tell their friends they helped make it. So.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about the tour itself. You're very familiar, obviously, because as a teacher, you went around on the tour and you took the kids. What's it been like for you to work with the other artists on putting the tour together?
Well, I'm helping with publicity, and
Okay.
that's the fun part. I'm helping make the buttons that everybody wears to get from studio to studio. It's your pass to get in. I've met some really nice people. I've met. I've known actually quite a few of the artists over the years. I have a lot of their artwork in my house, so it was funny. The first meeting, I'm going, oh, I've got yours and yours and yours.
Oh, how
and
fun.
It's really fun. I bought a few pieces on last year's Art Harvest tour as well, so it's been a great group of people to work with.
And there's, I mean, obviously there's quite a few artists too, so I don't know how often you all get together, or if it's more like committees.
We started with a really big meeting. I got to meet most everybody in the group, and then we broke into committees. And
So now, are you in McMinnville?
I am in McMinnville.
Okay.
I'm on Grand Haven Street, and that'll be on the map.
Are you showing alone?
I am showing alone.
Okay.
Like I said, my studio, also known as my garage, is ready to go, and it'll be easy to find.
Great.
So.
Okay. So, well, let's talk a little bit about then you formerly were a teacher.
I was. I taught middle school for about 32 years.
Were you an art teacher?
I did teach a lot of art. I didn't have any formal training, but my family, I grew up in a family where artwork was valued, and my parents
Okay.
did artwork, and I just naturally did artwork. So
you've kind of always been an artist, even if that wasn't exactly your profession.
right, right. I
Okay.
worked it in, and teaching was so challenging that if you could work a little bit of artwork in for the kids,
Oh,
it
sure.
made it, a spoonful of sugar. And so, especially on those weeks when you're working on state tests, the kids did a lot of artwork that week. So
You know, I've spoken with so many different artists over the years, and they've all said, art is what saved me when I was in school, myself, or when I had a job all those years, and I wasn't able to really do follow my passion at the time, that art was always what I kept coming back to, what I was drawn to. And then when the time came, this is what I want to pursue, and the time came to be able to pursue that. So.
yeah, so it's a real privilege to be able to do this now. I enjoy that I can make something that makes somebody else feel good. And I had a young man, he was 12 years old. I worked with him one-on-one about 2 weeks ago, and he made a cool pendant. It was copper and silver, and we did a cool design. And he took it and he looked at his mom and he said, "I just created a family heirloom."
Oh my gosh, how cool.
It was
Oh,
just awesome. So
that's
he was
amazing.
so proud of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that he'll have that for a long time.
Oh, well, Maggie, thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you.
And good luck on the tour.
And I hope a lot of people come and see me.
They will.
Yeah, great.